J Boogie in full effect mode. Bun down is the sound. You know how we do. And today in the lounge space, we have for the first time in the lounge space, we've got Courtney Fox. What's up?
Hi, how are you?
Solid. How you doing this morning?
Pretty good, pretty good. I'm on day 4 of testing positive for COVID, but
Right.
today is the first day where I felt some semblance of humanness again. So we love
I
that.
am happy for you.
Thank you. Me too.
Well, it was wild because we were supposed to go live on Wednesday. And then when you told me you got the vid, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, damn. All right, let's push it
You
back.
wouldn't have wanted to talk to me on Wednesday. I was not nice on
That's fair.
Wednesday.
That's fair. I hate to say I remember what it's like,
Mm,
but I do.
yeah, yeah.
It's some weird, like you know. Have you had it before?
This is my second time having it, both times
Oh
after
damn!
being vaccinated too. So lucky me. But
Oh
the symptoms are the weirdest for me when I
yeah.
get COVID. I don't get any lung sick symptoms. I get like full-fledged body aches and a fever. And that's pretty much like yeah, that's the extent of how sick I get. And I'm like, I'd rather be hacking up a lung than like sitting in bed,
Yes,
like drenched in 10 pounds of my own sweat. Like I'm not into
all
that
day,
at all.
all day. I'm
But
with
I
you on that.
digress. She lived to see another day.
There you go. There you go. Just want to send a shout out to Joe Boy Rock. Just popped up in the comments from Machina 2, part of Machina 2 with DJ Ilrai and Cortex, little rap crew
Hey.
extraordinaire. Yes, sir. Now we have you in the lounge space today. It was I really wanted to get you in the space because you've been making a little bit of noise, and I caught wind, and it was like, okay, we need to see what this rural R&B thing is all about. That's right.
Yeah,
Kudos to whoever wrote that copy because that's what caught me.
right. Yeah.
That's what caught me.
Well, at first too, it was kind of funny, like the journey into finding what sort of genre felt right for me and like finding some like fellow producers, fellow musicians who were kind of like in that same vein as I because I'm originally from North Dakota. I grew up
Oh,
in a really
actually, okay,
yeah, yeah.
okay,
So
all
I'm
right.
from the States and I've been living in
She's
Canada
American.
for 8 years, I think, but I'm still a kid, like I'm an American citizen and all
Oh,
my
I'm sure
family's still
you're
back
dual, right?
home.
You've got to be dual.
No, okay, so
No, you're
here's the
not
key
dual.
about dual.
Oh.
You can only be born with dual.
Oh,
If
okay.
I was born as I was born as a US citizen and I was sponsored to become a permanent resident in Canada. If I wanted to go the extra mile and get my citizenship from Canada, I'd have to renounce my US citizenship. That's not gonna
I
happen.
think you're good.
It's just not
I
gonna
think you're
happen.
good.
Just
Yeah,
because
you're good.
musicians need to be able to perform in the States without
Hell
paying,
yeah. Oh
the
my
visa
God.
fees and stuff. I'm
Phew.
like, "Oh, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do
Mm-mm.
that." But anyway,
Good move. Good
so,
move.
like, where I come from, country, folk music, that's what everybody is listening to. That's what you hear at the school dances. That's what you hear
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
in the
mm-hmm.
malls, in the restaurants. You're hearing the occasional pop, but a lot of times it's like Wagon Wheel and, like Darius Rucker and Garth Brooks and all these people that I was like, this is not it for me
Right, right, right,
personally.
right. Yep, yep.
But as I grew up, like, I knew I liked to sing. I knew I liked to be a creative person. I like to make stuff.
Okay.
But the resources that are available to you in small towns, especially as a kid, that they're like, choir, opera, things like that. So I just
Yeah.
kind of did all of the things that were available to me that were creative growing up, and they were all like genres that I didn't vibe with, but it was my opportunity to sing with a group of people, and that was like the thing that mattered to me, right? Is just to make the music itself.
Yeah.
So then when I got a little bit older and I moved here to like pursue basically like a secular music career that wasn't opera, um I started to meet musicians and I was like, wait a second. Holy crap, neo soul? Like I discovered neo soul here in school. So like
Okay. Okay.
Moses Sumney, Mick Jenkins, like the older like D'Angelo, like all the people that kind of built
There you go.
and I was like, this is what I'm talking about now.
Mm-hmm.
This is it. But
Okay.
like I couldn't get the farm girl out of me, right? Like it's not gonna just go away. Like,
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
So
Where's she
as
gonna go?
that's what I'm saying. So, as I met more people, they're like, "Well, like you've been fighting that for a really long time, and you've been like actively pushing against this. Why don't you just like find a way to almost like incorporate it, but in such a way where you're like halfway serious, halfway almost like poking fun at yourself. And so that's where like some of the topics in like Blue Bloods come from.
Hmm.
Me and my friend Conrad write together for that project, and a lot of times we're just thinking about like, wouldn't it be fun if we wrote a song about like how puritanical dancing is viewed as, like Burn Me Down is about oh sorry, Shame is about how people like in those kind of rural settings hate dancing. It's like a Footloose type
Yeah.
situation where it's like, hey,
Yo,
run
that's
to
legit the
Jesus.
vibe I got. You got all footloose
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah, and so we were kind of just like, how dumb, like, and so it became important to me to be like, okay, maybe if like I don't fully feel like my culture is represented by this genre, why don't I just kind of you know build my own genre? That sounds a little self-serving, but that
I
is
mean, but what else do you do though, right?
right. Yeah, so
I
it
don't
just made
honestly, I don't think
everything
it's
kind of feel
self-serving
more
at all.
genuine to me, you know what I mean? Like, it just
Mm,
made it be like, "Okay, well, I obviously gravitated toward, like, R&B and soul for a reason, but, like, I'm
right,
also gonna try to, like, instill it with this part of me that is still very much a thing
right,
that,
right.
wants to feel authentic but hates country and folk."
Okay. So you've very deftly answered our first question
I talk
somewhat.
a lot, you're gonna find that out. It's not hard to get me
It's
talking.
all good. If you know media, you know we like talent that talks, right?
Oh, good. I'll be everyone's favorite, I don't shut up.
So we like I said, you're touching on it already. We always ask our guests same question to start off. How were you first introduced to music?
So, when I was a kid, my brother and I babysat ourselves a lot. Like we were definitely the kids that were like out for 8 hours a day. We'd come home, get leftovers, go to our rooms, and entertain ourselves. Like that was the
Yes.
vibe. And
Hmm.
so, I had now that's what I call music CDs. And
Hey.
when I was ready to get that alone time, I was like, all right, y'all, the door's closing. I'm going to blast Buttons by Pussycat Dolls, and you're gonna leave me alone. And I'm going to yell those lyrics at the top of my lungs. So for a long time, just singing along to music became a really cathartic kind of like my own therapy, my own alone time
Yeah.
space kind of thing. And then my parents kind of noticed, they're like, she matches pitch really well. Like
Hmm.
she's singing along with these, like she's doing a good job. So then they told my teachers, they're like, hey, I think she has an interest in singing. But obviously, like I had mentioned, the only thing that we had were like, you're gonna sing these are a few of my favorite things. Like it's
Yes.
solos to a bunch of old people, right? So I did it because I wanted to sing. I wanted so badly to sing, but it wasn't very exciting to me.
That's
And
fair.
then as I got a bit older, I was like, okay, you know what though? This is what I am meant to do. There was just something inside me that was like, you every time you think about doing this, you get the butterflies, you get the goose pimples. You want to go do it right away. You don't
Hmm.
care. And so I was like, I've always been the kind of person that like I follow feelings before I follow logic, which can be kind of scary, but it also
Right.
it just
Yeah.
like I've lived a life that is very serving to my whims and my wants and everything. So I follow my heart a lot.
Okay.
So when I couldn't get rid of the feeling that that was what I was going to do, I was just like, well, then I'm going to. And so I decided going to school for opera wasn't the T. It was going to be jazz instead because that was closer to
Right.
secular music than
Yeah.
opera was.
Yeah.
And then I actually made so many friends and connections in University of Manitoba where I took my jazz school.
Okay.
And then it turns out that a lot of like gigging, working session musicians, writers, things like that go to U of M. So from there,
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
was able to like make a ton of friends who were able to point me in the right directions of like, hey, I can tell your passion lies here. Why don't you go do this? Or things like that. People who were really like not only supportive, but very helpful and very knowledgeable in their own right and things like that. And the more that I just like met this group of people, the more I was like, these are my people.
Right.
This is who I am. This is where I'm supposed to be, kind of thing. So it came very naturally, but it's only because I lead with my heart always that I've been able to kind of like find these people and find my passion, which I personally think is like such a gift to find, the thing that you're good at and the thing that you want to do and the thing that gets you excited and to be able to try to monetize that. That is just like, that's the dream to me.
For sure.
So, yeah. So just asking lots of questions and always like if I was dissatisfied, I'd be asking, okay, where can I go next to make sure, the next step toward my satisfaction is
Yeah.
covered kind of thing.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: what were you hearing in the home when you were growing up? What was the family playing?
um, my parents have hilarious taste in music. My mom is like Avenged Sevenfold, Disturbed,
Okay,
Church of
okay.
Invention, a lot of like what do you call it? Like oh my gosh, what's the kind of music that I'm trying to think of? That's like Limp Bizkit in that. Like
Uh uh
it's like
is it pop
System of a Down.
rock, pop rock,
Like
alternative rock, pop alt rock? We
yes,
can subgenre this to
there's a
hell.
specific genre that I'm looking for that I can't
Okay,
really think of
okay,
right now. That's kind of
okay,
heinous, but like
okay.
the loud, the groove driven. My
Yeah.
mom loves loud music. To this day, like Dave Draymond, the lead singer of Disturbed, that's like her favorite celebrity of all
Okay.
time. She would faint if she met him, kind of thing. And so I grew up listening to a lot of heavy, heavy, heavy music. I still love Sister to
Okay.
this day. I still love Avenged Sevenfold to this day. It's like a nostalgia thing for me, but they did not listen to any sort of music that I ended up like gravitating towards growing up. And that was why it was so hard for me at first to find like my genre, quote unquote,
Hmm.
because like
Hmm.
I'm not going to be singing anything that sounds like Limp Bizkit. I'm not going to be singing anything that sounds like Sublime or any of these other bands randomly that she would like play. So I really didn't know, like no female led bands either. Like as far back as I can remember, it was male vocalists, heavy things like that. So I really like, I was kind of just wondering essentially like I wonder what my voice sounds good in, and I wonder like what kind of music I can sing that like I actually like, that resonates with me, that isn't just like because like growing up I'd hear like Pink and Fergie and I was just like,
Hmm.
well,
Hmm.
this is okay, but but yeah, getting older and going to school, that was the moment where I was like, oh, this is what I was waiting for. Yeah, my parents to this day, I really don't know what they're on about with their music taste. I don't get it.
The fox was not feeling the Fred Durst flow.
No, no.
That's fair. That's fair. So, okay, a little heavy. Okay, so it was a little heavy in the home. Okay, were there any other sounds that you were being inundated with on the regular?
I just listened to a lot of radio because
Okay,
I was alone a lot and I had,
yeah,
lots of CDs.
and the
And
North
so
Dakota market. I mean, the FM market in North Dakota speaks for itself.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But I have these core memories as a kid of my parents getting me these blank cassette tapes, and then I would listen to the
Hey,
radio and I would record all my favorite songs, and
hey.
I'd be in the car and I'd be like, oh shit, this is Get Low by Lil Jon. I love this song. I have to run home and wait for them to play this again so I can record it.
It's
It
all
was
about those
always the
radio
rap
dubs.
songs that I was like, oh, this is awesome.
Right, right, right. Yeah, for sure. Nah, I'm feeling the radio dubs for sure. I think we've
Yeah.
all done that, definitely. So when let's look at neo soul. You discovered neo soul once you moved up here and once you started U of M. Was there was it just the general vibe of the genre, or was there a specific artist that was legit speaking to you and saying, I'm the one?
Combination of both, I think, because
Okay.
I'd never experienced until I moved to Winnipeg the sort of like when you get into a room full of people who have chemistry, who start playing like a groove together. There is a sort of
Ooh, nice
like
jam starting.
a sum that's greater than the
Mm.
parts kind of, like,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, this is magic. Like that didn't happen till I got here. And that also only really happened when we were playing these like, grooves with really deep pockets that are usually
Mhm.
bass driven,
Woo.
which to me is like soul, soul, soul all
There
day,
you
right?
go. There you go.
Yeah. So
Love it.
that was one of the things that I was like, okay, here we go. This is like, I really love this. But then also, just like finding vocalists, like to me, like listening to singers specifically is just so much more emotional, and like it means a lot to me because I can put myself in their position and I can hear a lot of the things that they're trying to invoke with their voice. Like I can tell what kind of emotions they're trying to get out of you, and like
Mhm.
how much they're really feeling themselves in the moment when they're singing and things like that. And uh I just felt so touched by the messages and the emotion and the just like the sheer musicianship of
Mhm.
that genre specifically, but also I've always believed that music is a language and that the more fluent you
Oh,
are
yeah.
in it, the more complex you can play, like the more messages you can get through and the more nuanced your sound is and the more individual you are as a music or as a musician. So all of those things kind of just like pointed me in that direction. It was just a lot of things that I appreciate about music were encapsulated and embodied by soul or embodied by neo soul. So it was very natural, and a lot of the players that I ended up having like a really good chemistry with also played soul because that was just like what they liked, what they gravitated towards, and of course,
Okay.
me being like-minded, I was like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, yeah, 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 I'm down. And then as soon as
Yeah.
I started playing it, I was like, this is it. This is absolutely it.
You touch on a sentiment that if you are honored enough, and if you are lucky enough, and if the stars are aligned enough, can find yourself, as you said, in the pocket.
Yeah.
And once you're in that pocket and that groove is established, and then you don't know where it's going, but 2 hours later, what? You're like, did anyone hit record on that? That's a mm,
That's a gift.
that's
That to
special.
me, like that's the higher power.
Yeah.
Like legitimately, that spiritual kind of connection to I call it the other, as lame as that sounds, but, like, we're always looking for some sort of connection to whatever that is, like,
Yeah.
the thing that you can kinda tell is in your subconscious, like, that kinda dwells within you that you're really not able to touch by choice. It's just that you can touch it randomly when you are having a really, like, out of body moment or a spiritual moment or just kind of things like that. And music for me is that like I can touch my spirituality through music, or
Mhm.
I feel as though like I sometimes I'm it's funny because I'm really not religious, but I am spiritual. So sometimes when I'm writing and sometimes when I'm singing, it feels as though I'm a vessel, not the person who's like making whatever's happening. Like I'm channeling, I don't know, ancestral trauma. I'm channeling, maybe it's, the all the musicians who came before me in my bloodline, all these things. Like I feel very connected to that when I'm making music. And that might just be because, I'm a hippy dippy and I love music
No, no, no.
but I genuinely feel like sometimes I feel like I'm healing generations before me when I participate in music in that way.
I like the vibe that you're on with what you're saying
Yeah.
because I very very much believe music is a love language. Music is and l- much to what you said. Okay, I don't consider myself spiritual. I'm
Mm.
pretty much an atheist. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? But then music kind of taps you in. You know what I mean? Almost as if
Yeah.
music kind of taps you in and then grounds you to like that larger other, as you put it. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. That's what
Yeah,
I agree.
man.
I agree that's
Mhm.
exactly what I mean. Yeah. Like and it doesn't necessarily have to be this like spiritual thing or like magical thing.
No.
Like we can just recognize that there's a wavelength that us as humans can all kind of ride on and like experience this really unique connection together.
Yes.
And that's beautiful. And like everybody should get a chance to experience that at least once, I think.
Oh, hell yeah. I agree with you completely. Now, as a creative,
Mm,
as an artist, as someone who steps on stage regularly, it it might appear that, stepping on stage is like breathing,
yeah.
that it's, second second breath is nothing, you know what I mean? But as I'm sure you're aware, sometimes you're in situations where you've got to play a gig and you're just kind of messed up upstairs, the day just was not going right.
Oh yeah. Been
There's
there.
some drama that happened and
Mm,
you're like, okay, I got to get out of that zone quick because I need to be, my stage self.
yeah.
But sometimes you could be backstage getting ready to hop on and like, shit, I'm still feeling like I do not want to be here.
Right.
What do you find works for you when that takes hold?
So, I created this like alter ego for myself when I first started
Alter
performing.
ego.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I had really bad stage fright and I was very insecure and I was tired of feeling that way and I was tired of like my ego being connected to this like creative performance that I put. And I kind of thought it was just like contrary to everything I was trying to do because it was very ego driven and very narcissistic, being like, all these people, I have to do so good and oh, I have to sing so perfect, blah, blah, blah. Like, shut up. So I made this alter ego that basically I gave her a different name than me. I called her Adira, which is Hebrew for strong woman. And I told her, I was like, listen, you are unbothered. You do not care. You have shown up to the gig prepared. You have shown up to the gig rehearsed. You are that bitch, essentially.
Mhm.
Like, and
No, for
I
real.
basically was trying to instill this alter ego with all of the things that I was working on instilling in myself, but like wasn't really like ready to say, I feel confident in this yet. And then I was like, well, here's the deal. I'm going to act like I already am until I've convinced myself, and then it'll just all come together, and I will convince myself through acting, right? Like fake it till you make it kind of thing. So I
That's
would
a
like
very real sentiment.
so what I would do is I drew it what I how I activate Adira is I drew a heart on my wrist, and as soon as that heart's on my wrist, I'm her. I am no longer Courtney. I am Adira. Do not talk to me. You know what I mean? So it would help
Okay.
me
Yeah,
like switch
yeah.
modes. It would help me like, and then it was more like a, well, if it's hard to be confident when you're you, you don't have to be you. Pretend to be someone else, and then go out there and be confident, and then you can leave the stage knowing you left it all out there, and you don't have to feel like, you're just less in your head. Like it really helped me to not be like constantly being like, oh, all these things. Like, I hope you look cool. I hope you sound good. I hope your banter isn't lame, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? If you go out there and you act like you're already the biggest star on earth, that kind of like attitude is contagious both to the stage and to yourself. Like
No,
you really
yeah.
can convince yourself that you're that gal by just acting like it. So that
For
was
real.
it took a long time for that to kind of like work, but then it did work. And now I'm at a point where I don't need her. I would
I was
if
about to say, do you still need Adira?
I don't. If
Hey, there you
I
go.
was maybe performing live on TV at a primetime event, I would maybe lean on her again. But I'm at
Okay.
the point now where I'm like, no, I'm Courtney, and I will show up to the gig and do a really
Hell
good
yeah.
job.
Hell yeah.
And I have no doubt in my mind at this point that I'm going to show up and you know do good.
Yeah, exactly. And then you'll have that moment where, you know, you've like finished, sets done, you go backstage and you're like, "Oh, I suck. That was horrible." And then
Oh
you open
yeah,
the door of the green room and everyone's coming in to give you props. You're like, "Oh, for real?"
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's another thing to me where I've had to like work on that because that's ego again. What matters is if the crowd has a good time and if they're connected to you. It doesn't matter if you were a little sharp or a little flat or you forgot a couple lyrics or whatever. Like if you bother yourself with that, it just goes to show that you're on stage for the wrong reasons. You're on stage to get that positive reinforcement and that attention and all like you know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
not why we're up there. We're up there to
Mm-mm.
build genuine connections with humans about
Yeah, share.
emotions, about
Yeah.
life experiences, and so I work on that a lot. I'm just like, if you come back there and you cry about your little sharp note, you're going to be doing that for yourself, and that's not why you do this. So I have to check
No.
myself. I'm like, come on now, like don't be doing that stupid egotistical stuff. Like we're better than that at this point.
We are, but I
Yeah.
mean, we're also human and,
Yeah, was
those
what
those
I
times are
did
still gonna
on
happen.
stage real? Was it real? Was it raw? Was it
Yeah,
honest?
yeah,
That matters way more than, oh, she like forced her belt note. Like, come
yeah, yeah,
on.
yeah. Do you find that the key to making that connection is mad fucking eye contact throughout the entire crowd? Like literally making eye contact with everyone like you're here with me,
Absolutely not for
right?
me. I
No? Okay,
cannot
okay,
I
okay.
can't do eye contact. I
Okay,
can't do
okay,
eye
okay.
contact. I try really hard to, like, emote of, like, what I'm saying as much as I can, but I
Right.
typically pick, like, an inanimate object to kind of focus
Okay.
on.
Okay, okay.
Because the eye contact for me is, like, I love human connection, but there is a line, right, where you can cross it and it's, like, too intense.
Okay,
And
okay.
for me, sometimes, and a lot of my songs are about very real, very visceral, very
Yeah.
like, sensitive emotions. So if I think I would have a hard time keeping it together sometimes if I was like constantly like really like leveling in with people at that level. I
Okay.
think that it would be I think I'm too empathic. I think it would destroy me emotionally.
Oh, okay. She's just taking in everyone's
Yeah, like
sorrows like,
I would
"Why
absorb
am I
it like a
doing
sponge
this?"
so much that the sponge would just disintegrate
Oh,
eventually,
yeah, that
and
would
I'm
not
the
work.
sponge.
Yeah, that would not work. I guess I'm glad I'm not an empath then. Yeah, I don't know. I like to make that eye contact.
Yeah, well,
I feel
there's
like,
a line for
you
sure.
know,
Like,
because
if
I
I
feel like
notice
that's where I
somebody
make
in
the
the
connection.
crowd is, like, really vibing, or, like,
Yeah.
they know some words and I'm really surprised or something, then I'll, like, we'll, like, touch hands, or I'll, like, sing to them
Nice.
specifically at one point, but the whole time, that ain't happening. Just I think I would, like, yeah, I would be too much. I would need therapy after that.
I feel you. I feel you.
Yeah,
And you didn't even get a chance to touch hands because of the vid. You had this show,
yeah,
the solo show.
yeah.
Then the vid came knocking.
I know.
God damn.
The nerve, the audacity.
And you were looking forward to this show.
I really was. I've been trying to.
Tell us about the anticipation of this show.
Sure. So I've been in bands since I moved here, but I've been writing on my own too, just as like a sort of journalistic adventure. And then I realized as I was writing some songs on my own that I really didn't want to share them with anyone else because they were about stuff that was so like personal and so
Hell
specific to
yeah.
me that I was like the only person that really should tell the story is me.
Hell
So
yeah.
I'm just gonna go ahead and put these in my pocket and like
There you go.
and then eventually I had enough songs in my pocket where I was like, oh, I have a solo project ready. So I put my first two singles out last year with no help, just by myself,
Very dope, by the
no
way.
label, no publishing. And they're like, yeah, they exist, and I'm very proud of them, and I love them. I'm still kind of in that like getting them in the ears of the listeners kind of stage. I have another single coming up that's in mixing, but in order to sort of
Hey.
like promote these songs that were out, I had tried originally to play a solo show last November, and guess what? I got COVID.
Damn.
Yeah, so then I was like, "Okay, I guess it's that time."
The
I
vid just won't leave you
scheduled
alone.
another one for this month, and look at what happened. And I really did
What?
think I was like, "Wow, this is the universe telling me that I should not play a solo show any under any circumstances." But I'm persistent, so I booked
Yeah.
another one. So now my third attempt at a very first solo show is on October 7th in
Okay.
Winnipeg, opening for my
Okay.
friends, the Dirty Catfish Brass Band. And,
Hey, there's a nice
yeah, they're
bill.
they're
There's a
all
nice bill.
oh, yeah, yeah, I'm very excited. It's at Blue Note
Where?
Church. It's at Times the Times Change
Oh,
downtown,
sweet.
and
Nice,
then
nice.
so I think they also have an outdoor stage, and if the
Yeah,
weather is working still in October, which, let's be honest,
you
probably
never
won't,
know.
but if it is, it'll be outdoors. So I'm so excited about that. Finally, yeah, rain or shine, it's happening. I really need it to happen.
Yeah. Oh, and I can just imagine too, with the anticipation you had for this show, and
Mm,
then vid came knocking. I know what, I know mentally what that could, like, damn, fuck
yeah,
that. I was supposed to go up there and do my thing. You know what I'm
right,
saying?
yeah.
So then, then the show you got rebooked for October, it just becomes even more. Oh, that's just like game face on. Everyone
Yeah.
get the fuck out the way. That show is mine.
Absolutely, and, like, it just goes to show it's like, yeah, there's gonna be stuff that happens, but
Oh yeah,
but it's never gonna be perfect, and you're just gonna like, adapting is a huge skill that you need, and for me too, like, I'm in no rush. I'm not going anywhere. I've got all these songs.
yeah.
I feel very, like, confident and proud of my project, so as long as I
As
just
you
keep,
should.
looking ahead and keeping positive and just like keep putting myself out there, keep making positive connections and friendships with people, then like the things will happen on their own time. I'm not trying to
Hell yeah.
force anything. So I am very, very excited to play the show because it is a very long time coming. I think I wrote my first song for the solo project in 2016.
Damn. That song's been waiting to be heard.
Yeah, man. Like a lot of these songs have been just chilling in my brain for like
Yeah.
8 years, and I'm like, okay, anytime we can show the masses anytime.
Isn't it kind of crazy though how you do have that little storage room in your brain where you can store shit and pull it out
I think
hook, line,
about
and sinker?
all the time, all the time.
That's dope. You know
It's
what I mean? That's
weird.
a
Brains are
dope thing to do.
weird. Brains are so weird. And like I'll go through like my voice memos, like, sing random like little things that I was like, oh, that's a fire like little hook. And then I'll leave it for 3 years and I'll listen back again and I'll remember every word that I like improved at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like, man, brains are weird, but also that's another reason why I feel like a vessel sometimes, is because I'm like, I don't know where that came from. I don't know where that's been stored. I don't know where that went. I love it though. And like I feel connected to
Exactly.
it.
Exactly.
So it's weird. Yeah.
Is what I'm saying. Hey,
Yeah.
now you do have a couple of singles out.
I do.
People, there is some dope shit to be heard, and the reason why we got you on here is because we like to promote dope shit up in this motherfucker. So
Yeah.
naturally, we need to let people know what is available for listening pleasure.
Okay. Well, I have two singles out currently for my solo project. They're called Jeans and Faith. They're
Fire,
on
fire, fire.
Thank ya. They're on every like streaming service you can possibly think of. I also do features with my friend Conrad, who is the producer for
Yes.
Blue Bloods.
Salute Conrad. Salute Blue
Connor, shouts
Bloods.
out
Such
Conrad
a dope project.
Pittman. He's the
Woo.
best. He's the man. Yeah, so I think there's 4 songs out right now. There's Make It Rain, Shame, Postcard, and maybe one more. Oh, Jabberwocky. So I have 4 songs with them. And then fun fact, I also on my Spotify profile have a playlist because I'm a session musician as well. So
Yes.
you can hire me for harmonies, arranging, background vocals, guest verses, etc., etc. And so I have a playlist on my Spotify that shows all of the projects that I've been hired in the last like 8 years to be a part of. It's called I'm on it, lol. So it's got like lots of different sessions that I've been a part of, live sessions, studio sessions, collabs, things like that. So there's a lot online that exists that I'm on, just not a lot of like my, solo efforts.
All
But that's
gravy.
coming. That's coming.
It's coming, and you're obviously a patient person. You know the time will come. It's just a matter of like when you get there and how you get there. That's all.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
from what I'm hearing, like I said, from what I'm hearing, the vibe is real. I think that you've got a sound that really translates, and you definitely, like I said, the hook for me was rural R&B. So whoever wrote that copy,
That's
props.
Conrad. That's
Was that
Conrad.
straight? Yo, Conrad, salute,
He
man. Yo,
really
it
he
was
really helped
perfect.
me develop the love and respect for where I come from and drenched in my sound because I for the longest time. So you have to understand, I come from North Dakota. There it's a hive mind, it's right wing, it's
Yeah,
a lot of things that I
yeah,
do not at all embody. So when I was
yeah.
living at home, I actively fought them. I pushed against where I came from. I like really didn't want to fit in with these people because they didn't
Mm-hmm.
vibe with who I was as a person and like
Mm-hmm.
what I found to be
Mm-hmm.
important. And then so when I moved here, I was like, well, I've got to continue to shed this like, country girl BS that I really hated, but
Yeah,
was a part of me. Like I
yeah,
did, grow up in a rural setting.
for sure.
So he was one of those people that was just like, you don't have to embody the parts of your, you know, where you grew up that you hated, like the racism and the xenophobia and all that stuff. Of course, you're not
Exactly.
going to embody that,
Yeah.
but maybe you should think about the, reclusive nature of where you live, like how quiet it is in the mornings, like the fact that I lived like 2 miles from a windmill farm so I could like watch them out my window and like
Yeah,
all
yeah.
this stuff. He was just like, maybe you should romanticize the parts of it that like did actually positively impact you. And I was like, wait, there was
That's
stuff
solid.
from North Dakota that positively impacted me? You're right. And
There you
so,
go.
yeah, he really did help me kind of just like stop
Yeah.
fighting who I am a little bit, you know?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what? We're all guilty of that.
Yeah.
We're all guilty of that. You know what I mean? And sometimes we just, just need to have our head raised for a second to just give us the awareness, like, oh, I'm doing that. Right. Got it. Okay. Thank
Well,
you.
and also,
Yeah.
like, sometimes you need somebody to put it into perspective that the
Hell
picture
yeah.
in your mind of, like, where you come from and, like, the average person from your hometown or whatever, it's
Yep.
probably a lot less harsh in someone else's mind than your mind because you go there and you see all the bad parts and your brain latches onto the bad parts. But if I
Exactly.
were to bring some friends home or something, they wouldn't see that because I wouldn't be, people wouldn't come up to them and say
We're
something
gonna take
racist.
them to all those places that you want them to see.
No, they would probably go
And
into
here are our
the
racists.
diners and get, like, free coffee and be talked to by the old people, and, like,
Yeah.
they probably have a better experience than I did, so I'm like, "Okay, maybe I can just, like, start highlighting the good things
Yeah.
instead of constantly ruining all the bad things," and that it made a positive difference to me.
Yeah. Definitely not about bad things at all. Nothing but
No.
positivity.
Yeah. Well, and like, yeah, some of my songs are not about good things, but they're
I
more
mean, they
like
shouldn't be.
they're more like about how I have every right to leave it behind. Instead
Yep.
of being like, "Oh, poor me." La, la,
Yeah.
la." It's more of like a "I'm better than this. Bye" kind of vibe.
I mean, at the end of the day, you sharing your creativity, I don't find it is very conscious. I think that when artists share their creativity, it's very unconscious. I mean, you hearken to it a little bit earlier. You are tapping into
Yeah.
something greater.
Well, and I really want kids from rural places, especially like in the states where a lot
Mm,
of like public schools and stuff, they're funded by the government and it's state to state. And some
yeah,
states really only put funding toward certain kinds of
yeah,
extracurricular activities such as sports where
yeah. Oh,
so I was a
sure.
member of my all-state choir in North Dakota, which is like kids from all over the state would go to our capital and sing together. And it was like all class A schools. I was the only one in all state that was from a class B school. And I was so proud of myself. But I realized when I got there, I was like, this is probably the only 100 students in the whole state where their parents decided to get them private lessons. Like none of the systems, the powers that be in these rural places, they do not allot funds to get these kids in private lessons, to teach them what it's like to express themselves creatively outside of a classroom setting, like to kind of just like introduce them to these forms of expression without them like because a lot of these times if the parents are going to put them in, sure, but the parents have to have money for that and the parents have to have the wherewithal to know what their kids are interested in, and a lot of
Yeah,
times kids figure that out in school by
yeah,
being told to do it, right?
yeah,
But in these tiny schools they never ever 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 get the funds or the support that they need in order to like think, "Hey, is this something that I can do once I leave school?" Because,
yeah.
oh man, I if I had a nickel for every single time I told somebody I was going to go to college for music and they were going to say, "What are you going to do after that?"
Yo,
Or
I can imagine.
when you give up doing that, what are you actually going to do for a job? Those
Whew,
kinds of things.
I love
I
that one.
want I want kids where I'm from to know that you don't have to be a freaking pop star to be a music or like somebody who works
Facts.
and like a working living musician.
Yep.
It's not just immediately this famous person that you
Bare
see
fact.
everywhere. No, there are so many jobs for people like you and me who love to sing, who are creative, who just want to contribute to other people's creativity and vision and things like that. There are things you can do. Like there
Yep.
is a whole industry in several different cities that are really close to North Dakota. So I really want to help people, especially like just like yeah, like young women especially to me because they are not supported in North Dakota. I want them
Mm,
to know that
mhm.
you can be a working creative. It is possible. You will be you will be discouraged at every turn. There will be so many systemic barriers, but with perseverance, a bit of privilege, which I absolutely recognize and acknowledge, um, things like that, and that's why I just want them to know, like there are avenues if we can
Yes.
to lift each other up, and the more people that I've convinced this is a possibility for, then the privilege barrier will break
Yep.
because more people will come and it won't be as this niche, only the pretty girls, only the white girls, all of the things,
Mhm.
like all the
Yep.
crappy things we've seen in
Yep.
decades past. Those
Yep.
things will be demolished by the fact that we're all participating, we are all tunnel visioned toward being creatives, we are all supportive, like all those things, like that means the world to me. I think that's actually like maybe one of the most important things about talking about being a creative.
Oh yeah, and like I'll be honest, I take comfort knowing that if I Friday, we all know Friday is new release Friday, right?
Yeah.
I take comfort knowing that on a Friday, through the various avenues that I would access for new music, there's going to be one place will be for your more commercial stuff, one place for your more underground stuff, one place for your more alternative stuff, one place. Do you know what? There's literally a space to find everything now.
Yeah.
And
And what
I'm discovering artists that I know for a fact I never would have discovered 5 years ago even.
and as an artist, what's also dope about that is because it's never been easier to put music up for the world to consume. You can be
Yes.
as many different people as you want to be. You
Hell
can
yeah.
have as many projects as you want. Like I have a psych rock project, I have a pop project, I have 2 R&B projects. Um, I sing harmonies for some country acts, like things like that. Like just because of the nature of how open and shared and available the music world is now,
Hmm.
there are
Hmm.
obviously downs to that, like the, how oversaturated the music scene is now, and like just how much music there is to be consumed nowadays.
Hmm.
But conversely, like we can also exist in that space in
Hell yeah.
however many like versions we want to, and that's huge. That's so awesome. And like that just to me serves the creative aspect of it too, because like I said, like I grew up listening to Disturbed, I grew up, all these, there are multiple creatives within me, there are
Of
multiple
course.
facets of
Of
creativity that I
course.
need to expel.
Of
So
course.
it's so nice, like that is one thing about the internet that I love, is that you can exist within it as often and as like many different times as you want, and like you don't have to be just one person. You can just, you can do all these different creative avenues, and really if there's no genre overlap, you're not even getting in your own way. You're just doing
For
more
real.
and more and more things that
Nah, for
feel
real.
creative and fun and fulfilling to you.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely.
Yeah.
Courtney, it's been a pleasure having you on.
Thank you. It's been a
I
pleasure
want,
to be on.
oh, hell yeah. Now, anytime we have a guest, after that, it's open door,
Right.
literally open door. And we have people come back on all the time. Anytime we got something to promote, because like I said, that's why we exist, is promote the dope shit. So I know we'll have you back on again.
That'd be awesome.
And we got to make sure people reach that solo show that you're actually going to play
Oh,
finally in October, October 7th.
October 7th.
Time's
Yes.
changed.
Yes.
The
Well,
name of the band is
Dirty Catfish Brass Band.
featuring.
Courtney
Hell
Fox.
yeah. Now, for the show that you missed, you were playing with another band. You had a
Yeah.
band backing you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that your permanent backing band?
So mostly yes, like because
Okay.
it's a solo project, I like
Yeah,
hired guns for the players, but they're also really close friends of mine. So it's like one of those
of
things where
course.
I'm gonna ask them first before I ask anybody else.
We
But
love to
there
pay
may be like
friends.
little tiny bits. Yeah. There may be like little tiny iterations of the band, but mostly that'll be who I'm
There you
rocking
go.
with going
Nice.
forward.
Nice. That's sick. Now, tickets are available. Will tickets be available online or will it just be a
I believe
door?
they are already available online. Dirty Catfish Brass Band has a link in their bio on
Okay.
Instagram already, but I will probably be putting the link in my bio ASAP as well.
Yes,
Maybe
you
as
should.
soon as we hang
Yes.
up, I will do
Definitely. Definitely. Because if you don't get your promotion on, I'm just, hey, did you
Nobody likes
quick
singing to
message?
nobody.
Hey,
I
what's
can
going
tell you that. I don't
on?
I don't wanna sing to the grass.
Exactly. Exactly. So we got the show coming up in October. You got a project that you are currently working on.
Yeah, so I have a single that's, like, in mixing right now.
Yep.
I will probably be releasing the, like, pre-save date within the month.
Sick.
So that'll be out before the end of the year. I'm really excited about that song. It's a bit of a weird one, which I'm, like, very, very,
Okay.
very, very happy about. It's a song about my journey with agoraphobia. So, um,
Okay.
it's a bit of
Okay.
a
Curiosity
wild
peaked.
song. Yeah. Yeah, but I
Okay.
love it. It's one of my favorite songs I've ever written, so I can't wait for it to come out. And then yeah, from there I'm just I'm continuing to write, continuing to do the thing. Hopefully we'll put out an album by next year. I have enough songs already to do that, so
Sick.
depending on, resources and opportunities, it may come soon. Who knows?
Do we have any visuals online that we can send people to get an idea of the aesthetic?
Do I? There are a couple of music videos for Blue Bloods that are out now, starring moi. And then I also just have a couple like lyric videos or like watch alongs for my
The
singles.
visualizers.
But
Yeah.
not too many
Great
just yet.
marketing tools.
Still working on it.
Sick. Awesome. All
Yeah.
right, then. Well, Courtney, thank you once again. It's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you for sharing your creativity. The music is dope. Highly recommended. Looking forward
Thank
to the new
you.
single. And we'll catch you in October.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, sir. You enjoy the rest of your long weekend.
Yeah, you too.
All right, Peasy.
Bye.